Where is your cat right now? Maybe they're sleeping on the couch. Maybe they're watching you with those half-closed eyes, pretending they couldn't care less about anything. Maybe they're sitting right in the middle of the room, staring at the wall, and you're thinking, what on earth do they see? That's exactly the question I want to explore with you today. Your cat isn't staring at the wall, or at least, not just the wall. They live in a world we can never fully perceive. They hear sounds that would require specialized equipment for us to detect. They pick up smells that seem meaningless to us, but to them, those smells are a language, a map, a story. They see light in ways that make what we call darkness a perfectly lit stage. And perhaps the most remarkable thing of all, they can feel your emotions. Yes, you heard that right. Your cat may know how you're feeling today. Science says so, and by the time you reach the end of this video, you will never look at your pet the same way again. But first, I have to ask you something. How many years have you lived with your cat? 1 year? 5 years? Maybe more than 10. Now think about it. In all that time, how often did you genuinely try to understand them? How many times did you ask, why do they do that? And actually go looking for an answer? Most of us describe cats as independent, mysterious, impossible to figure out, as if they exist in this world entirely on their own terms, occasionally granting us their presence. And maybe that description is partly right, but here's the real question. What if that mystery actually comes from our own ignorance? In the last 15 years, scientists have made remarkable discoveries about cats, and the message is surprisingly clear. Your cat knows, feels, and perceives far more than you realize. They just express it in ways that are completely different from ours. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 hidden senses. Some of them you may have heard of, some you've probably never encountered, and one of them is going to genuinely surprise you because it's far more human than you'd ever expect. Ready? Before we dive into the senses themselves, let's start with a small but important piece of context. Among domesticated animals, cats occupy a fascinating and unusual place. Dogs evolved over thousands of years to work alongside humans, to please them, to bond with them. Cats took a very different path. About 10,000 years ago, agricultural communities in the Middle East began storing grain. Those stores attracted rodents, and rodents attracted cats. Cats came to live near humans entirely of their own accord. Nobody made a deliberate effort to domesticate them. They came to us because it worked for them too. This evolutionary backstory matters enormously because a cat's senses are still, in large part, the senses of a wild predator. 10,000 years of domestication didn't erase millions of years of hunting instinct. It just added a thin layer on top, so that soft, warm, peacefully sleeping creature on your couch right now is carrying a fully equipped predator inside, and that predator's senses work very differently from yours. Vision, masters of the dark. A cat's eyes are probably their most talked about feature, but what most of us know, they can see in the dark barely scratches the surface. The basic fact first, cats can see in light levels roughly 6 times lower than the minimum humans require. How is that possible? 2 main reasons. First, cats have a far higher density of rod cells. These are the light-sensitive cells that detect motion and light rather than color. In low light, they're not seeing color the way we do, but they're catching every single movement. Second, and this is genuinely beautiful, behind the retina, cats have a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum. This layer bounces incoming light back through the retina, giving it a second pass. That eerie glow you see in a cat's eyes at night, that's the tapetum lucidum at work, a byproduct of using light with extraordinary efficiency. But there's more. Cats can also perceive ultraviolet light, which humans cannot see at all. What this means in practice is that surfaces we see as plain white may look completely different to them. Patterns, stains, markings, invisible to us. And one more detail, a cat's field of vision is around 200 degrees. Ours is about 180. That small difference means they detect movement across a much wider area. But here's the catch. Cats are actually weaker at seeing fine detail at a distance. To truly recognize you, they need to be close, which is why they don't rely on their eyes. They rely on their nose. Hearing everything you can't hear. Let's try a quick experiment. Tap your hand on the table. You heard that, right? So did your cat. But they heard considerably more. The human hearing range runs from about 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. A cat's range, 48 to 85,000. That means your cat hears deep into the ultrasonic world, exactly the frequencies used by mice and small prey. That sharp, tiny squeak you would never notice. Your cat hears it clearly. But even more fascinating is how their ears work. Human ears are mostly fixed. A cat's ears can rotate up to 180 degrees, and each ear moves independently, meaning they can track two different sounds at the same time. You've seen it before. Your cat looks asleep, eyes closed, body still, but the ears are moving, scanning, listening, waiting. A sleeping cat is not really asleep. It's a detection system that never turns off. And one last thing, your cat knows its name. They may not respond, but they hear it and they recognize it. They just choose not to care. Okay, let's step away from the science for a moment, because what I'm about to say is something every cat owner recognizes instantly. Has your cat ever come to you at the exact moment you were about to cry? Have you ever had a terrible day and suddenly found them climbing into your lap? Have you ever felt completely alone at night and then woke up to find them right beside you? That is not coincidence. Cats are deeply sensitive to human emotions, and that sensitivity comes largely from their sense of smell. The human body releases different chemicals under stress: cortisol, adrenaline, tiny chemical shifts that all become scent. And your cat detects those changes long before you even realize them yourself. Those moments when you feel like your cat is healing you, they're not healing you, they're reading you. That small, quiet nose is constantly scanning. And when it decides something isn't right, they come closer. Of course, not every cat does this. Personalities vary. Trust matters. Experience matters. But for many people, this moment is very real. And this brings us to a sense we can't ignore: smell, the language of their world. A cat's sense of smell is about 14 times stronger than ours. But stronger doesn't really explain it. When we smell something, we perceive it as a whole. Coffee, a flower, something spoiled. A cat breaks that smell apart, piece by piece. When a cat walks into a kitchen, they're not just sensing food. They may be detecting ingredients, timing, and even who touched it. And it goes even further. Cats have a second scent system, the Jacobson's organ. You may have seen it before. That strange expression when your cat freezes, mouth slightly open. That's not confusion. That's analysis. They're pulling scent directly into that organ, reading chemical information on a deeper level. And they don't just use it to understand the world. They use it to communicate. The way they rub against you, the way they press their face, the way they mark objects, it's all part of a map. This is mine. This is safe. This belongs to me. And without even realizing it, you are the center of that map. Now we arrive at the most important question. Do cats feel? It's a question people have wondered about for a long time, and the answer is more complex than you might expect. We know this. Cats experience fear, stress, curiosity, pleasure. But what about love, attachment, grief? Here's what science found. In 2019, a study revealed something surprising. Most cats form real emotional bonds with their owners. They feel safe when you're near. They feel stress when you leave, and they relax again when you return. That is attachment. Not loud, not obvious, but very real. And sometimes they feel something else when something is wrong, when you're not okay. They notice, they observe you, they read you, and sometimes they come closer, not by accident, but by understanding. Everything we've covered so far has been largely explainable, but now we're stepping into something deeper, because some of what cats do still hasn't been fully explained. Pre-earthquake behavior. You've probably heard this before. Animals behave strangely before earthquakes, cats included. For decades, people across the world have reported the same thing. Hours, sometimes even days before a quake, their cats become restless. They try to escape. They make unusual sounds. Science doesn't have a single answer, but there are theories. They may sense electrical changes in the ground. They may detect shifts in magnetic fields, or even low-frequency vibrations we cannot hear. So if your cat suddenly seems uneasy for no clear reason, it might be worth paying attention. The seeing ghosts question. A cat staring at nothing, tracking something you can't see, watching an empty corner of the room. You've seen it. Most people have. So what's actually happening? Science says they see more light than we do. They hear more sound than we do. They detect movement we completely miss. So, no, they're not seeing ghosts. They're seeing what you can't. But here's the interesting part. Ancient civilizations believed something very different. They saw cats as beings between worlds, creatures that perceive what humans cannot. Science says one thing, history says another, and honestly, you get to decide which one feels true. And then there's this, something even stranger. Cats may have an internal compass. There is growing evidence that they can sense the Earth's magnetic field, which might explain how some cats find their way home from incredible distances, hundreds of miles, sometimes more. Inside their bodies, tiny magnetic structures may be guiding them, telling them where they are, where they've been, and where they belong. So the next time your cat walks with that quiet confidence, watch closely. They're not just walking, they might be navigating. Pause for a moment. Did you look at your cat while watching this? Maybe more than once, because something changed. That small creature sleeping on your couch lives in a world far deeper than it seems, and you are at the center of it. If this video made you see your cat differently, I'd really appreciate a like. It helps more people discover this. And honestly, every cat owner should know this. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's a lot more coming. And tell me something. What is the strangest thing your cat has ever done? I read every story. Next time, we're going deeper. Why do cats love some people and ignore others? Why does your cat choose you? The answer is more surprising than you think. See you in the next one.